So I'm going to be adding a piece of skirting board, 167mm MDF Ogee profile to match the existing. I've blocked up a doorway, boarded it, plastered it, and now I just need to fit the skirting board. The skirting board's much wider than the existing doorway because I didn't want it to be too obvious that there was a door there, so there's an extra metre altogether, 500mm either side of the existing doorway. I'm going to show you the doorway now, all plastered and ready to receive the skirting board. So this is where the skirting board is going to go. As you can see clearly where the doorway was. Starts there, ends there, and there's approximately 450 and 550mm on either side. So I'm going to be adding the skirting board there. Because there is a slight raise in the floor just here, I'm going to have to drill and screw the skirting board on either end. Because it's MDF, you do get a little bit of give in it. To save scribe in the bottom of the skirting board, you'll get away with losing 5mm on either end just by putting a slight curve on there. So I'm using these from Screw Fix again. They're concrete frame screws, 7.5mm diameter, 72mm long. So they're easy enough to go through the skirting board and into the breeze block. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to drill holes through the skirting board 8mm and then rebait with a countersink so we can lose the head of the screw into the skirting board, and then there's plenty of room. Then there'll be at least 3mm above the skirting board to fill, and then sand back so that it's flush with the skirting board. When doing something like this, I always have a bin. I usually have a bin underneath so we can catch some of the sawdust. So I'll start drilling the X marks the spot. I'm going to replace the drill bit now with a countersink bit. So I've got the countersink bit on there now, swapped it from the 8mm drill bit. I use the 8mm so that you can, there's nothing there hindering the 7.5mm screw when it goes in. These screws, these frame fixings will go straight into concrete. You don't need a wall plug. So I'll drill this now. So when I put the screw in there now, I'll lose the head, and there's plenty of depth there now to fill, and then sand back so it's nice and flush. Because this is a new piece of skirting board, piece of MDF, it does come primed, and I'll give it a light sand. I'm going to give it a light sand before I take it through, and that will eliminate the amount of dust going into the house. And again, what I'll do is I will place it, if it's a good enough size, a manageable size, just place it in the bin so that when you give it a light sand, the particles will mainly fall in the bin. I'm going to use one of these sanding pads so you can get right into the profile and get rid of all that rough edge, so all the dust can stay outside or go into the bin. Before I take the board inside, I'm going to get some methylated spirits and just wipe over to remove any excess dust before going into the house. So I'll just get a flat file just to take away any of the burr from around the edge where you just drilled. Remove that with your file. Doesn't matter if you take the primer away, because once the skirting board's in place, you're going to give it an undercoat anyway. Another little tip is to plane the end here. Just put a bit of a slight chamfer on there, so that when you put the skirting board up to the existing, you've got a nice thick groove to add filler to. If you just have a hairline to add filler, the chances are that you'll always see that hairline. If you've got a nice deep groove there to put the filler in, it's easier to hide where the join was. So 6mm masonry bit. Going to use that for attaching the skirting board to the wall. So I'm going to go into position the skirting board onto the wall and turn my drill to hammer. I'm going to drill through the hole I've just drilled for the screw. I'm going to drill straight through that hole into the breeze block, mark it out, and then go straight through at least 70mm, 60, 70mm. Well, at least 70mm, I guess, because these screws are 72mm long. So if you get 70mm into the wall, at least then you'll definitely know you've got enough depth for the screw to go in. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I've got my drill, I've got the SDS bit with the masonry drill bit. I'm going to take the skirting board into the lounge and put some no nails, some well, actually grip fill along the back of the skirting board. Okay, so the 72mm weren't quite long enough, so I'm going to use 105s instead. Attach this side first just to get it set up. I'm going to use a torque bit for the screw. Okay, so got one side in. Now if I come over this side, I'll just push it down a little bit. Add a bit of weight. I'll just go and get the wooden mallet. Okay, so because it's quite a tight fit, a snug fit, I've just used a block of wood. Use my hammer to tap the skirting board down so it's in line there. So I'll just drill. Another hole there. And again use another frame fixing. And there you go. Now the trouble you have here now is you have a bit of bounce there, but in order to solve that we need to put the grip fill in there. So now we know that the skirting board fits, we've got the holes lined up with the screws. We're going to take it back off now and add a bead of grip fill along the back of it. You want to apply the grip fill in like a zigzag rather than a straight line. This will prevent the skirting board wanting to move. Put plenty on there. And then put a little bead up either side of the skirting board edges as well. Place the skirting board the opposite way to how you've moved it. I'll get this one in. Like so. And then with the grip fill, the nature of the grip fill, it needs to attach to both surfaces. Get some air in there, and then just hold it still for for about 30 seconds. Okay, next step. Get your decorator's caulk. So I've gone with the caulk once. It does have a degree of elasticity inside it, but also it doesn't shrink too much as well. So I'll give it one coat of this, and then I'll probably go over, especially where the screw heads are. I'll go over the screw heads a couple of times. So 45-degree angle, just cut it down so you've got about a 4mm radius on the tip of the applicator spout nozzle. So after you've gone across the whole surface of the new circuit board, just go back over it, with your finger there, looking out for anywhere else that needs a bit more. There's a couple of low spots there. This stuff is sandable as well. You can sand it and it's paintable within an hour, so get the job done in a day. When I do fill in the screw holes or the screw heads, I'll make sure I go over it with a straight edge, usually a scraper, but I don't have one to hand at the moment, so I'm going to use my tri-square. I'm going to be going back over this later anyway, because I know that it does shrink a little bit, but not as much as the cheaper stuff that you can get. Put plenty in there. Scrape it off, try and go around the profile as much as you can. And then with your excess here that you just scraped off, you can then go and apply that to any other screw holes. I would have used a scraper for this normally, but I forgot to bring it in. So just squeeze it in. You squeeze it in there, make sure it's definitely covering the gaps there. Okay, so I've used all that. Put a bit more in there. And then repeat that same process. Going through the profiles. Right, I'm going to turn the camera off now so I can finish doing this bit. Make sure this is a bit neater, but as I say, you can always sand it over later on just to make sure it is completely flush, and you can always go back over it again. This is probably just the main coat of the decorator's caulk, and then I'll just have a look for any low spots that need going over, and then hopefully get this undercoated today so it blends in with the rest of the skirting board. Right, we're back later.